Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. And today's guest that I have with me is actually a pioneer in her industry because you never heard of her before until now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like for your viewing pleasure, your ears, your eyes, everything, to introduce my guest today, Rasheda Garcia. And she's here to talk about her organization, Multicultural Teachers of the Deaf. Rasheda, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. So tell me a little bit more, and I'm going to have to shorten it just for myself. So tell me a little bit more about Multiculturals of the Deaf and what people should know about.
So we shorten it as MCTOD. So the organization essentially is rooted from the work that I've done for many years. By trade, I'm an educational interpreter and a teacher of the deaf, as well as an American Sign Language adjunct professor. And so for the past 15 plus years, I've been working as a teacher of the deaf in Alaska, New York, New Jersey, and then as a regular educator in Virginia. And so the premise behind me creating this organization essentially was because I've noticed that just within my walks of teaching, that my students, their culture is not embedded in their academics. And, you know, when we think about culture, a lot of people just think about just the racial aspect of culture. But if we go deeper into culture, we're talking about the children who have, you know, two moms or two dads, who are adopted, who are coming from Germany, from, you know, Korea, from Africa. Their culture is so heavily rooted in who they are. And then when we transfer to academics, we're teaching one thing. So back in October of 2019, I was driving and I started to have this kind of like feeling that, wait a minute, something's missing from what I'm doing as an educator. I travel from school district to school district, so I'm not in one school with one class. So I see many different kids. And we're getting a lot of students from Africa, from the Dominican Republic, from Puerto Rico, and we're having a hard time. And when I say we, I think of the entire, you know, deaf education population as teachers are having a difficult time to increase literacy in these students. Now, while literacy is a problem that we're challenged with all the time just because they have a hearing loss, the other element is that they're from another country. They don't get ELL services. They have a teacher of the deaf, and we need to figure it out. But this is not something that has been taught in schools for us as far as an educator. So, you know, looking at that and being so child-centered and making sure that the children get what they need, I felt like it was a perfect opportunity to create this platform as an organization to build up not only the children, but also to seek where are the other teachers of the deaf who are Hispanic, who are Hawaiian, who are Korean. I've not met many. You know, I was the only Black teacher of the deaf in my collegiate experience. And so while I can reach one population, I can't reach those Korean students because I don't know culturally. I can learn it, but culturally, I don't know what they need and how to branch it off to academics.
Gotcha. All right, awesome. Well, Rasheda, because I want, you know, this platform to help people support and, you know, provide more, because it definitely sounds like it's being overlooked completely, you know, thinking that it's like, hey, they got the basic language down, they know how to speak it, all right, good to go. And there's so much more with it. So Rasheda, where can folks actually go to get more information about MCTOD?
So we are on Facebook, Multicultural Teachers of the Deaf. We have a Facebook page. You can find us at www.mctod.org. And you can always email us at mctod20@gmail.com.
Awesome. And how long has MCTOD been around for?
So while everyone was stewing off of, you know, quarantine, I was building a business.
Awesome. So we're talking about as recent as this year.
My business launched June 1st of this year.
Wow. Oh, brand spanking new. Okay. Okay. For the folks that are watching this, I just want to give y'all the date. It's July 17th. So you are pretty much seeing history, not a business being built, but history in the making. So Rasheda, I'm honored. I am truly, truly honored.
Thank you.
Just by the concept alone. So because it's been around for so long, or I should say since June, but I know you definitely had that strong impact. What are you looking towards by the end of the year, or even around this time next year?
So currently we have a 6-week Facebook series that we're doing suited around culture. I've done 6 interviews with very, very different people within deaf education. And so we've launched that as of July 13th. And basically it's the interviews and getting teachers to truly have some retrospective thinking about how they infuse culture into their world and into their classrooms. And at the end of the 6 weeks, there's going to be a virtual culture vision board party. Because while we can do a vision board party for ourselves, thinking about how we're going to bring culture into the classroom now that education as a whole is changing is going to be very important. Because if we're going virtual, now I'm in somebody's house. How do I do that? What does that look like? You know, culturally, we have things that happen in our house that don't happen anywhere else. Or, you know, I'm from a West Indian background. So, you know, there are certain things that we as West Indians do during the day that other people may not do, you know, or things that we are cooked or things that are being said. So we have to be very conscious about going into our students' homes, especially with students whose parents don't speak sign language. You know, that's another big thing. So we're doing some other webinars that's happening, and we're really trying to build a community. I just had an amazing talk today with a teacher, a speech therapist who works with students in Ethiopia. She works with deaf teachers and deaf students in Ethiopia. I've been having conversations with another lady who works in Guatemala and trying to cultivate relationships, not just national, you know, like within America, but internationally. How could we as a whole help each other?
Wow, that is truly amazing. Now, for the folks that are pretty much, you know, close and local to you, how can folks, even including myself, how can folks actually get involved and support MCTOD?
So I think the support is just understanding that there is deaf students everywhere. You know, we may see that one deaf child, or not even, you know, Niall DeMarco was on a bunch of shows, TV shows, and everybody had this influx of yay, sign language. But there's so much more beyond the sign language, you know. People see the YouTube videos where the children get the cochlear implants and the hearing aids. Yay, they heard mommy's voice for the first time. But there's so much more education that goes into that. And just, you know, to be able to spread the knowledge, and, you know, we accept all those who want to learn about deaf culture and culture as a whole as it relates to these students. A lot of my students are in mainstream schools with hearing teachers and hearing peers. I want their teachers to be a part of this conversation as well, because my deaf child student is in their classroom, and without this conversation, they're not able to understand how to meet that child where they are. Gotcha. So, you know, if just getting engaged and joining the conversation, and, you know, my hashtag is change the narrative, because we really have to begin to change the narrative, not just of education, but the small, tiny population that everyone forgets about, the deaf students. Right,
right. No. I definitely, I was working with special needs way back when. Of course, this was before Obama years, so I'll just leave it at that. But with that being said, being in the school district, you know, I was already dealing with a small minority population. So I'm already dealing with us, and then it's like on top of that, it's like, hey, these kids are labeled with special needs, or they're special ed. And then even come across those that, you know, that there really wasn't that resource for those that were deaf, you know, that they had somebody, luckily maybe that did learn sign language or did know sign language, but definitely that cultural aspect or that cultural piece to it was definitely missing from that puzzle. So I thankful for you. Thankful for you for so much, being able to pioneer that. And in addition, not being old, so humbug like quarantine again. White people still hate black people still hate black people, but actually taking that, it's like, you know what? I'm going to do something. So, Rashida, I'm grateful for having you on the show and grateful for you talking about it. And then can you give us one more time as far as where folks can find out more about it, Rashida?
Sure. We are on Facebook, Multicultural Teachers of the Deaf Facebook page. www.mctod.org is our website, and mctod20@gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. And then now, as far as expansion, what age group do you actually usually deal with when you do go out to these schools?
So I deal with pre-K through 12th grade. So I have the full gamut. And it's such a beautiful thing to see, because many times as teachers, we teach third grade and you're in third grade forever. You know, you go from second to third. But I've had the opportunity to understand preschool and what their needs are in order to get them to high school. So, you know, anytime I'm sitting in those IEP meetings, I'm not asking the parent about what they want for their child for the next coming school year. I'm thinking about in 2 years, because I am the educator that wants to help them to get where I know, you know, 5th grade is if they're in the 3rd grade. I know what the standards look like because I've had the opportunity to be throughout the entire gamut of education. And then just as a adjunct professor, you know, I know what the expectation is for college. So it's nice to be able to dip my toe into every grade level so that I can make sure that my students have a successful longevity academic career.
Awesome. Now, eventually, do you see yourself being on college? Well, depending on where the colleges and universities are going to be at in the next few years, but do you see yourself engaging with college students in the future as well?
Well, one part of our organization, we do have what we're calling collegiate membership opportunities for the college students that are going into college to become teachers of the deaf. We want to start that conversation now, because oftentimes they're college professors, as we know other college professors, they haven't stepped foot in the actual classroom in a long time. You know, they've been teaching in the college level, and while things change and they go to seminars and webinars, it's nice for the college students to start to talk to people in the field, especially now that education seems to be making another 360 or 180 or whatever's going on.
1080,
right.
1590, all of those.
Exactly. So it's important, I feel that it's important for them to have these conversations and begin to talk with teachers who are currently in the field, because when they leave college, we don't even know what education is going to look like. But it would be nice to support them as mentors and give them some tips and tricks so that they can go into their first year teaching effortlessly.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Rasheda, one last question before I let you go, because I do want that focus of entrepreneurship. And for those that are looking to get started in business, there should be no excuse. Rasheda Garcia is an example of starting in the middle of social injustice, in the middle of racial discrimination, in the middle of COVID-19 and the global pandemic, where people are pulling their hair out because they're unsure if their unemployment check is going to get here next week. So, with that being said, Rasheda, what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to get their business started or struggling to continue on with their business?
So first thing is first, clear your mind of the negativity. I don't watch the news. I am in my house is what I consider a positive, clear, negative-free zone. You know, I need to make sure that the space that I'm going to be creative in is one of positivity, because that is how things flourish. Just start, you know, just write down what your top things are, and whatever your top pieces are as far as trying to become an entrepreneur, just write your goals down. And then the next thing I would say is, because this is what I did, I was on Facebook. I was on Facebook and I found an amazing community that helps to build entrepreneurship. And I was just in it and I was plugged in. So find those communities that they support entrepreneurship and get plugged in. Ask the questions, see what people are doing. I mean, I've never built a website before. Man, I learned about Wix and I was on it. You know,
Who needs their website done? You need your website done? Listen, if you didn't talk to tech support, shoot me a text. I got you right now. Your formatting is off. This is what you need to do. Move the object. You're going to have to click and drag. Click and drag.
you know, and so I asked the questions. I took that little search bar. I mean, right now we have all the information at our feet. You know, I'm not one to be on social media before this much. I was on Facebook a little, you know, I searched a little. Never, ever was I on YouTube because I can't get sucked in. But let me tell you now, I'm looking for those tutorials on how to do MailChimps, and I'm looking for, you know, how to boost your marketing, and the information is there. But before you even begin your business, you have to sit down with a clear mind, because if you have too many things happening, there's no way for you to, you know, think about it as a seed. If you have a seed, and then you have dirt, you have mulch, and then you have garbage, and then you have a watermelon on top, and you have some, you know, Cheetos on top, and it's never gonna grow.
Sprinkle Cheetos though, right? We're not
a little sprinkle, yeah, because you know,
okay.
it's for the color, really. It's really for the color. Right. You know, but if you have all those layers on top, you're not going to bloom these ideas like you want them organically. You know, don't ever look or be forced into an idea. The ideas have to grow organically, and then you have to do the work, and you have to stay plugged in.
Wow, awesome. Rasheda, I asked that question because it's kind of double-sided. I asked it for the people at home so they could listen and take it in. But even though, you know, I'm doing well with the radio show and among the other streams of income that I'm bringing in, I still like to get that advice and still like to hear that, like, oh, wow, because every person that I've asked has always given me something new. So the seed concept, I know that long ago, well, not too long ago, but the quote is that the day that you plant your seed is not the day that you eat your fruit. So hearing that it's like, hey, you know, if you got a bunch of ideas, listen, that one idea should not be covered by mulch and what you call watermelon and some Cheetos and other people's ideas, or even somebody else's seeds on top of it, but just starting with that one thing and letting it grow naturally. So Rasheda, thank you so much for that. And again, one more time for the folks at home, where can they get more information about Multicultural Teachers of the Deaf?
So we are on Facebook, Multicultural Teachers of the Deaf. We have our website, www.mctod.org, and our Gmail, mctod20@gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. Rasheda, thank you again so much for being on the show. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. And for the folks at home, check out interviews such as these on YouTube channel, RNG Radio Show, or if you happen to be up first thing in the morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m., you can catch me on Facebook Live. Rasheda Garcia, I am greatly, greatly appreciative of having you on the show once again.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Fleslet on the beat.